Welcome, Lada family. This is Marianne. I'm one of the spiritual teachers on Lada's site, and I wanted to bring to you today some real esoteric numerology about April insights and what's actually going on so that you can be more relaxed in your nervous system. Now, the first thing, I'm going to bring you 5 really valuable insights for April. And number 1 is that I have created a spiritual group, more of a spiritual church, if you look at it like that. Nothing to do with religion, but it's once a week on Lada. If you go under my name, there'll be a link below, where every single week, this is so important, just for the price of a coffee, I think it's Sunday 11 o'clock UK time, I'm going to be running a quantum healing and EFT tapping practice so that you can every week keep your frequency high. Now, why is this so important? Well, there's one thing I discovered, and this really leads me into these valuable insights. In a meditation this morning, I noticed that I was getting a really sore shoulder over the last week, and I knew that this was just not me. It was coming from collective consciousness. A very close friend of mine also has a very sore hip. Now, what does this mean? Well, if you look at the shoulder, it's covering the heart chakra, right? It's trying to protect itself. So in meditation this morning, I really nailed it, where I understood that what's actually happening is the collective consciousness is seeking moral support, which is that emotional and psychological support, to let us know that we're going to get through this, to let us know that we're safe. Now, the hip is about the root chakra, which is the foundations there, right? So it's all about the money, it's all about security and fears and doubts and things like that. So number 1, we're really seeking that unseen hero of emotional and energetic support. So that's why I've really created this spiritual church for you guys, just for the Lada group. So go there and you can book in, and I'll send you a link. Allow me 24 hours to do so. Because I'm in Australia, right? So the second really valuable thing to understand about April is a 2020 year we're in. Now, the 2020 from an esoteric numerology point of view is double foundational stuff. And what I mean by that is coming into April, if you look at 2020 being the 4 energy, ruled by the square, it's about foundations. Everything this year, if you look at the whole Pluto and Saturn and Capricorn and all of these things that Lada and her team have been explaining from an astrological point of view, it's all about foundational shifts. Things have got to change, especially as we're moving from that into the Aquarian age, you know. So I look at it like this. We've got in April, especially, in the foundational year, we're asked to innovate, collaborate, and create community. So it's asking in the 8 month especially, which is a 448. Now that's meaning there's going to be some pretty big shifts happening in April. And what I mean by that, if you look at the 4 ruled by the square, so I would suggest that big corporations are going to fold, some big things are going to happen there. You're also asked to, 8 is to look at your money foundations. How can you refine, restructure things? If you do have a mortgage, for goodness sake, don't put it off another second. Go and do something about restructuring that, looking at comparisons. How can you recreate it? Because if you look at it economically, it hasn't been fair, right? And this is all happening for a really valuable reason. So how can you change that? Now, the 8 energy, because it's a 4 universal year and we're in a 4 month, it's a 448. So how can, look at the 8 as psychological, right? It's very similar to the 8th house. So psychologically, what moral support do you need? Because if you're anything like me and came from that really dysfunctional upbringing, you're going to have an unmet need there as a child, in an inner child situation where you're afraid to ask for support. And that's why the spiritual church energy is a really, really good idea for you to join. So you, in the background, you're getting all the tools and support that you need, all for the price of a coffee. So that's really valuable. What else can you do psychologically? Even to come to the understanding, I would really, I've tripled my meditation practice. I do 3 meditations a day now instead of 1. I'm really tripling the energetic and emotional support that I need to give myself. And also asking for that support, not being afraid to be vulnerable, not being afraid to reach out and say, hey, listen, I'm struggling right now, because we're all in this together, you know. And this is really about bringing out the humanness in all of us. And I said to a very wealthy client of mine the other day, it doesn't matter if you drive the best BMW right now, we're all in this together. You know, this has no discrimination against gender and age and wealth and things like that. Now, another thing I wanted to give you is that the spiritual church I've created is all the vibrational work we will do, which is 45 minutes a week, is all about love and money. Now, in this month, you're asked to lift your frequency above that fear. Remember, we either operate in love or fear. So it's really asking you to rise above that. How else can you lift your frequency if you don't want to join this group, right? So I couldn't tell you how more important it is about this month. This 8 month is asking us to dig deep psychologically, and I'll get to the reason right now, because the 4th reason, April insight, is we have to expect the worst before it's going to get better, and it will get better. It will get better. There's no doubt, but it's going to get to a really overwhelming, maybe for some, psychological situation this month in April. And that's because it's really asking us to dig deep and go in and heal those lost parts of ourselves. This is an emotional, energetic, physical, psychological, energetic, on every level. This is psychologically asking us to shift, physically asking us to shift. So to innovate, collaborate, create community, all of these things. Now, even though we have physical distancing worldwide, right? Some people are in complete lockdown. Even though we have this, it doesn't mean, so now we've got to ask ourselves, how can I create deeper, more meaningful friendships? Perhaps connecting with more people in a different manner, because you know, we were all so busy before on this hamster wheel, just going for it. And it's like, oh yeah, that person would get in touch. And it's like, oh yeah, whatever. But now it's like, hang on a minute. We're asked to look at our authenticity. We're asked to really dig deep and look at that. So instead of worrying or getting fearful about where this uncertainty is taking us, know that we can be certain about several things. We can be certain we're going to get through this. We can be certain of that because we only have to look at history. And back in 1919, where in the Spanish flu and all around that time, where it wiped out 500,000 people, 500 million people, I think it was, they didn't have the resources, technology, world collaboration, communication systems that we have today. So no, it's not going to get that bad, but we will get through it. This is an opportunity, and I want you to really, really allow this month to unfold and take care of yourself, doing everything from a psychological, emotional, and energetic energy to take care of yourself, because this is what this month is all about. Now, the last thing I want to go through is to really give you some really moral support here. And I want you to understand that we need to look at the positive aspects, because there are many, many positive aspects. Always look at the glass half full, not half empty. And my heart goes out to those people that are suffering at the moment, have lost loved ones. there is nothing that you can say to anybody about that. The people that are actually sick, I've got two very close people to me at the moment with cancer, and they can't even have visitors, you know. So it's really, really hard on so many levels for so many people. So I want you to look at these positive aspects. I wrote a really funny one down here, because one thing I had noticed, and you may notice as well, is that you're hardly getting any telephone salespeople calling. I haven't had hardly any. And I used to get about 4 a day. That was so annoying. So that's a really good positive aspect. Another positive aspect is we're in a time of bonding on a real collaborative, conscious awareness level, really collaborating in that community. That's this Aquarius coming in, and like, how can we restructure our lives that we are more community based, that we are diving in to really, really help each other and our fellow man. So that's an opportunity here. Thirdly, I don't know about you, but I'm really forced to exercise more. You know, I'm really asked to I can't handle just sitting and doing nothing and doing all this work in front of the computer without really honoring my body. So I'm really noticing I need to get out for that exercise walk every day. Another thing is a really positive aspect of this. You just notice who is authentic and who isn't. There's a lot of people trying to make money out of this situation we're in at the moment. And it's like, okay, so, you know, you've got these really high performing, someone pointed this out to me the other day, it really blew me away, really high performing people that are really trying to slam the market and use this as an opportunity. When instead of making it really available to everybody, you know, that's what I really looked at. How can I make this really available to everybody with the spiritual church idea? And that is to make it, you know, I've made it $5.55 US to be involved once a week. Now, here's the thing about 555. There's a reason that when I channeled that, came home to myself about that. 555 is not only the Christ energy, it's also about complete change, transformation, and vibration. And the 5 energy ruled by Mercury, it's about how can we communicate through this and transform our energy from this place of, you know, darkness or low frequency up to the really high you know, enlightenment sort of energy. And I can promise you this, the tapping rounds that I've done with people over this have just been so insightful, incredibly insightful. And of course, you'll get quantum healing. So just notice who's authentic and who's not. And you can spot that with your family and friends and think, okay, so how can, you know, what's this here to teach me? Am I just supposed to sort out, you know, who I'm going to hang out with moving on? Because I can tell you right now, this is about not just the past. This is about long-term change. It's not just about at the moment, how can we cope and get through this? This is asking us to look at the future for good. How can we reinvent the wheel and rescript and reformat things so that we can move forward in a much better light? Another positive aspect you might notice is not only finding out what's important to you right now, but really celebrate in, you know, nature having to rebloom itself, giving this opportunity for Mother Earth to breathe. And it's also our opportunity to breathe. So I really hope this is a little bit more helpful for you. I really do hope that you join us each Sunday UK time, 11 a.m. Now, if you are in the States and you want, I think that's 8 p.m. Melbourne, Australia time. If you are in the States and that time doesn't suit you, message me off Lada. If I get enough of you, I'll create one for the US. All right. So much love to you and thanks for listening.